Joining me right now is the Assistant to the President for Trade and Manufacturing Policy, Peter Navarro. Peter, it's good to see you this morning. Thanks for being here.
Good morning from the swamp, Maria.
Yeah, well, listen, we've been talking about all these companies shutting down operations, no flights in and out of China. This obviously is going to hit the Chinese economy hard, putting the deaths aside and the sicknesses aside. If we take out the first quarter in China, what does that mean for the U.S. economic story and this 3% growth hope, Peter?
I think we're going to have to wait another couple of weeks or a month to see just what exactly is going on. There's also companies that are going back to work in China as we speak. We won't know for a couple of weeks now whether the virus is going to peak or whether it's going to spread. In the meantime, here at the White House, we've got a crack task force working day and night on this issue to protect Americans. One of the things, Maria, that I've found interesting as I've looked into this is our foreign dependency on all sorts of medical equipment, supplies, and pharmaceuticals that you need to treat not just coronavirus, but a lot of the issues we have in American medical. Just this weekend, my team went and visited a plant, a continuous API manufacturing plant down in Richmond. It's kind of a new way of making pharmaceuticals. I think what we need to do is think a lot about how we can get our pharmaceutical production back on shore and cheap. This president is the first president who's got prescription drug prices down in decades, and that's the kind of thing we need to focus on as we also focus on fighting this coronavirus.
Yeah, I think you mentioned a really important point, because on the air last week, I told our viewers that I had spoken with a leading guy in the hospital industry, and he told me that there were ships that were carrying things like plastic gloves, masks that were supposed to be coming from China, but China stopped those ships and said, no, they're not going to export this stuff because they actually need them in China. Forget about any contracts that they had already had in place. The hospitals in New York that I was talking with are going to get squat. So what does that happen to the U.S.'s reliability? We have to rely on these important medical supplies from China. You're right. We need to make sure to have a plan B.
So it's interesting that it's not just China that won't give us stuff when we need it. Back during the H1N1 swine flu a few years ago, we had, I think, 35 million vaccines that were supposed to be shipped from Australia to the U.S., and they didn't send them. We had trouble with Canada and Great Britain getting stuff. The point, I think, which is the interesting one, is that it's going to be really important for us to onshore our pharmaceutical manufacturing as well as our medical supplies.
Yeah.
The N95 mask, that's a respirator mask. That's the one that our healthcare professionals are going to need to fight things like seasonal flu and this coronavirus.
Yeah.
China has eliminated all exports, and it's effectively nationalized foreign companies like 3M, taking them over. And I think that just underscores the need for us to focus on onshoring at least some of our capacity and supply
and that's
chain.
what the president has been trying to do with the USMCA and with the China deal, trying to bring manufacturing back to the U.S. on all of these things that we need. Look, I got to get to two more things because I want to get your take on Secretary of State Mike Pompeo's speech at the governor's, but I also want to get your take on what you've been doing in terms of counterfeiting. But before that, I've got to ask you about the trust issue with China. They knew that coronavirus had happened back in December. They sent a delegation to the White House to shake everybody's hand. They knew that they had this virus that had started for the phase 1. Then they sent the largest delegation ever to Davos. And now the ambassador to China was on one of the Sunday shows this weekend, and he did not deny that coronavirus could have started in a weapons lab. I mean, this is huge stuff. I mean, he really needed a follow-up on this, but he didn't deny it. Senator Tom Cotton has been tweeting about this. Do we know if this started in a research lab, and how come they won't allow the CDC in there to better understand how this started? Because if they started this in a weapons lab, that's evidence that they are developing or trying to develop weapons of mass destruction, biological weapons.
So let's try to unpack a lot of things that's going on there. I think that the question of how this started ultimately has to be answered. I don't think now is necessarily the time to do that, because what we have to do is fight the crisis first. But China will have to be held accountable for how that started. 14 years ago, in a book called The Coming China Wars that I wrote, I actually predicted a pandemic from virus from China, precisely because of the way they run their country in terms of their animal husbandry practices. So whether it was bats or other things, I'm not really sure at this point, but I was very surprised that the Chinese ambassador did not answer that question.
Well, Mike Pompeo was at the Governors Association talking about the way that China tries to dominate. Are they tracking Americans regularly? I mean, I know they're tracking the Chinese citizens, but are they also tracking us here?
We're all targets politically, and it goes down, as Secretary Pompeo noted in his speech, to the state and local levels. It's trying to deal with China. They're an authoritarian country. They don't allow us to go over there and try to influence their political system, and we have no intention of doing that.
Yeah.
But they do come here and certainly do that. That speech, I urge everybody to watch it on YouTube and read it, because it identified things like the 1,000 Talents program, as well as pressure that China puts.
Thank you. Next time, we got to talk about counterfeiting. Love what you're doing. Peter Navarro, thank you.